Welcome to the third part in this mini-series of the history of Alton Towers. If you've missed the first two, there will be a link at the end. In this series, or in this episode should I say, we're going to be looking at the 2000s, so 2000 to 2009. As with the previous ones, we will look at all the past attractions, any celebrities that have visited, we'll look at some old adverts, some marketing campaigns, some random trivia. You name it, if it's on the internet, I've probably found it. Now we start this decade with three additions. So the first one is at the end of 1999, the gift shop in the Towers closed. It's for some, what looked like potentially renovation, but actually it was the installation of a brand new ride. Now we now know this as Hex. It is a Vekoma Madhouse. There are many of these around the world. I have been on several, but I would say Hex is probably one of the most immersive, also been one of the most problematic. It was closed for all of 2023, and thankfully it's coming back this year, 2024. Hopefully repaired and reliable and actually working, because it is a fantastic ride when it works. And the ride is themed around a local legend about the chained oak tree, and you can see that throughout all the kind of pre-queue, and then obviously when you get into the ride itself, there's a massive tree that is chained up. It also got its own advert. Now the second edition that we got in 2000 was the Cred Street Carousel. This was a dual level carousel, only hung around for around 5 years, removed 2025? 2025? It was removed in the future, guys. It's still there. No, it was removed in 2005. So yeah, carousel for a few years. And another attraction we got was Barney. So 3 times a day, Barney would perform with his friends BJ and Baby Bop in Barney's theatre, obviously. And it also got its own advert.
That's not Barney's head! That's not Barney's head! That's Barney's head! Yeah!
So 2001 was a really quiet year. There was very little happened in the park. There was one addition, and that was Submission. Now this was, I believe, a fairly intense flat ride. I never got on it, unfortunately. It was 2 gondolas that would take guests, spin them upside down, hold them, flip them around, etc. It did have some reliability issues, and in its later life, only one of the sides of the ride would ever operate. Obviously, it has now been removed, and that area is currently barren, but it did get an advert. By 2002 saw the continuation of the Secret Weapon line with Secret Weapon 5, which was known as Air. Now interestingly, this was marketed as the world's first flying coaster. Slight inaccuracy there, because there was a little known ride in Manchester many years before called Skytrack, which was a torture device, but it was also a flying ride. Now, as you'll see throughout this series, there's quite a few places where the concept art and the final product don't quite line up. And this was also true. So there is concept art for Air that was more kind of steampunk. There's concept art that was kind of like apocalyptic. And then obviously we got the ride that we got, which was still quite a, a new thing for most. Certainly the ride itself was specifically designed with Alton Towers and B&M. There have obviously been many other flying coasters since. And if you look at modern flying coasters like Fly, in Phantasialand, I think that's a Vekoma. That is a completely different beast, and I really hope we see more flying coasters along that line. Now you'll see later on, Air got transformed into Galactica. They put some VR on it. That didn't quite work. They took that back off. It's currently Air. It feels a little out of place at the moment in like late 23, early 24. It's looking run down. They are doing some work on it this year, just little bits of TLC, so it'll be interesting to see what its future is. But yeah, guess what? It got an advert too. Now, if you think of towers now, it's fairly common to think of Scarefest later in the year where they have all the scare mazes, but actually 2002 was when the first scare maze was introduced, and that was Terror of the Towers. Now, this briefly appeared on CITV, so here's a little snippet.
I'm gonna do it. I'll do it. Nice. Just wondering if we could come in and have a look around.
Come on then.
She's nice.
Yeah, let's go.
They also updated their playground with a bunch of new equipment, and it was known as Space Adventure. And I've also found a little snippet of Dermot O'Leary doing the welcome speech on the monorail.
Hello and welcome to Alton Towers, Britain's most exciting and magical theme park, which is packed full of unexpected surprises. Hey! Well, you better prepare yourself for even more unexpected happenings, especially if you visit Hex, the legend of the Towers. Now, let's have a look at what's available for some of our younger visitors. Alton Towers is crammed full of attractions to enchant even the most inquisitive of minds. Here, catch this and have a look.
Now, if you've been keeping up with this series, you'll see that Alton Towers changes their logo more often than I change my socks. And in 2003, we got yet another one. I do change my socks, by the way. After the success of the first hotel that the park opened, they've been planning on expanding for a little while, and in 2003 we got Splash Landings. Now, this obviously incorporates a water park, which was also new for the park. Interestingly, it opened prematurely, and guests who stayed in the hotel when it first opened were subject to construction and painting, and they actually closed it again, finished everything off, and then reopened it properly. And also for the first year, the water park was an exclusive to hotel guests. Obviously that is not currently the case. It is open to everybody. Guess what? The hotel got an advert too.
Stay in a place that's bursting with fun. Europe's first water park hotel.
Now this next one was a little weird, and I didn't expect this when I was doing the research, and that is in 2003 a project called Crux opened. Now this was a kind of youth religious thing where they were trying to introduce youngsters to their faith through the use of technology. Didn't hang around for very long. They added a set of trampolines known as Bungee Extreme. We got an interactive funhouse known as the Ribena Berry Bish Bash, which was basically a large giant room filled with foam balls and kind of cannons and all sorts of things to throw these balls around. And in the middle there was this berry juicer that if you got enough balls into it, it erupted, presumably throwing the balls all back out again. Kids loved it. The Tweenies came to the park with daily shows.
The Tweenies are on stage at Alton Towers with live shows every day. Hands up if you want to come and play. The Tweenies, now at Alton Towers.
This was also the year that the haunted house got rethemed into Jewel, where they basically added in guns and targets and made it a more interactive experience. It certainly seems to be divisive. As we now know, the park have rethemed this yet again. It is now the Curse at Alton Manor. There are many who think it as a significant improvement as back to be a traditional haunted house experience, but there is still a group of people who much preferred the Jewel interactive experience and miss it now that it is gone. Interestingly, when the ride did close, they sold off blasters for 250 quid, I think it was. They sold out pretty damn quick. Right, 2004 was a hell of a busy year, so lots to go through in this one. So the previous year they opened Splash Landings and the water park, which meant the swimming pool in the main hotel was then surplus to requirements and nobody used it, so they repurposed it into a spa, which closed at the end of 2023, and many people, myself included, were like, what spa? Like, it was there for 20 years? I didn't know it was there. Did you? Did you ever go? Now the park also opened Spinball Whizzer, which later became Sonic Pinball and is now back because the sponsorship is ended. Interesting advert.
Advance book an unforgettable day at Alton Towers from just £18 and ride the new Spinball Wizard. It's flipping crazy!
18 quid for a day. Imagine how. That would just be amazing. The next thing the park did was retheme the log flume. They turned all the boats into baths, they added rubber ducks, they added a shower, because it was sponsored by Imperial Leather.
Clean up this summer with free tickets to Alton Towers, only with Imperial Leather.
Now there was another accident on the Sky Ride this year. Strong gust of wind caused the cable to jam and there was a number of, I think about 9 people had to abseil a couple hundred feet. No thanks. Okay, so the park played host to a rather unusual world record. A couple of years before, there was a record set on Nemesis Inferno for the most naked people on a roller coaster, with 28. I guess I just found out that Nemesis in Alton Towers has 1 row more than Nemesis in Thorpe Park because you could fit 32 people on it. So they did, they fit 32 naked people on Nemesis and got the world record. I can't be 100% sure this was 2004, but the park started selling gold coins themed around all the different rides, and they were 22 karat gold. So if you've got that collection, well done. And the last thing from 2004 was yet another concert, this time Status Quo.
Down, down, people are down.
If you're enjoying this video, hit that like button. It tells YouTube to share it with other people. Share it with your friends. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button. That also works. I'd love to hear if you've got any memories from this decade. Let me know down below. And a little favour to ask, I've set myself a goal of 10,000 subscribers by January next year. That's a steep goal and I could do with your help. So the subscribe button, could you just give that a wee click for me? Thanks. After such a busy year in 2004, 2005 was actually pretty quiet. We got 1 addition, and that was Rita, Queen of Speed. Now, if you look at this picture of it in the early days, that area is a lot more open because now the queue line goes underneath the track and it's all kind of enclosed and tunnel-like. Way more open back then. Now the ride lost the Queen of Speed part of the name when Dark Forest came along.
You said nothing could top Nemesis. You said not even Oblivion or Air. But what you hadn't seen coming was Rita. Rita, Queen of Speed, your best Alton Towers ride ever.
And some of you might not know, bits of the track are painted green, the higher areas, because it's intended to blend in with the trees. 2 new attractions were added in 2006. First one is Peugeot 207 Driving School, which lost its sponsorship in 2012. Still exists in the park today as Cuckoo Land Driving School, even though Cuckoo Land kinda has gone now. And then the second thing was that Toyland Tours was rethemed to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which was possibly one of the more favourable incarnations. Toyland Tours had a lot of fans that liked it as well. It's now the dungeons and it's crap.
The new Charlie and the Chocolate Factory ride at Alton Towers.
Random bit of trivia, the Dayton site Gator partly hired the park in 2006, so there's banners everywhere, and certain areas, including Rita, Queen of Speed, stayed open way later than usual, so you could get some night rides, which is quite uncommon for Alton Towers. 2006 also saw an accident on the Rhinaway Mine train when it was going through the tunnel section where it interacts with the Congo River Rapids. The train split in half. One half kept going, other half did not. First half didn't keep going very long, rolled back, bumped into the back half. So a number of guests were, some were taken to hospital, many were treated for bruises and cuts, and the ride stayed closed for around 8 months until it reopened the following year. Let's take a look at the ad from 2006. So in 2007, the Blackstone Group bought Two Swords and merged it with Merlin Entertainment, and we got another logo. That one. And this was the year that the Extraordinary Golf was added to the park, which the holes are all themed around various attractions, past and present. In 2022, there were some interactive elements added to that. I'm not sure how busy the golf is. If you stay on site, it tends to be included. You get 9 holes, but I don't know how many people leave the park and just do some crazy golf. After being removed in 2001 due to a foot and mouth outbreak, the park brought back furry friends with rabbits, guinea pigs, rats, and donkeys. 2007 also saw the introduction of the Haunted Hollows. We got an attraction called What Lies in the Dung Heap, which was kind of like a playground themed around insects and dung, and it was the last thing Two Swords Group did before they kind of were taken over, and you can tell that there was no effort at all in this attraction. The park tried some new technology in 2007 with a system where guests were given kind of RFID bands to wear that would track them around the park, and then at the end of the day they could collect a DVD of them on various rides and different things, a system known as Your Day. Although from what I've heard, it was a little bit mixed, because the first year, if you didn't do certain rides, there was stock footage put in instead, and then the next year they let you choose. Some guests took the wristbands and kind of trashed them, so that didn't help, and it didn't stick around, but I think that's quite an interesting idea. I do like how some parks nowadays have on-ride footage rather than just photos, so it'll be interesting to see if any modern technology is reapplied to the park in the future. And for 1 year only, we had ATTV, which was basically an interactive pretend TV show, game show, where guests were filmed. It didn't last, it was there for 1 season. Starting in 2007, the park also hosted an annual event where a group of naturists took over the water park. This ran right it's not during COVID, this ran right the way up until last year when it was cancelled. And sadly, the Sky Ride once again had a problem. This time it was a fire that destroyed the roof on one of the stations and left the ride shut for some time whilst the repairs were carried out. 2008 brought us a brand new area in Mutiny Bay. We got Battle Galleons, which is a Mack Rides splash battle. Don't know if I've ever been on it, don't know if the weather's ever good enough for it. The teacups were rethemed to Marauders Mayhem, so still a teacup ride effectively, but it's now kind of barrels and dynamite and explosions and stuff. And then we got a Zamperla rocking tug in the form of Heave Ho.
Escape to Mutiny Bay, the new pirate land at Alton Towers Resort.
This was also sadly the final year that Corkscrew operated, and the park hosted an event in November to say farewell to the ride. I think the queue closed at 3:30 and only competition winners were allowed on after that. But it is nice when an attraction is removed that guests, or particularly fans, are given the opportunity to get their final rides on it. Let's take a look at the ad from 2008.
Stay for days when you escape to Alton Towers Resort.
Now, rounding out this decade, in 2009 we got the Sea Life Centre, known as Shark Bait Reef. What I like about this though is that it is included in the entrance to the park, unlike another attraction that comes a few years later in the form of Dungeons, which is separate and you have to pay for that. So Sea Life Centre has always been free and hopefully remains that way, which is a nice little experience kind of to chill out during the day. In 2010, when 13 came along, they put a 13 tank into the Sea Life, and there was a little mini coaster inside there. The other addition that we got this year was Wobble World, which had the big wobble and a little wobble, depending on kid size. Interestingly, this was quite rare nowadays. This was a supervised play area, so parents could go and get coffee and chill out for a little bit, leave their kids. Don't see that very often. And the last thing for this year was we also got some new gondolas on the Sky Ride, And sadly, there was also a fire which completely gutted one of the stations and knocked the entire ride out of operations. So there you go, that is the 2000s. 2 more videos to come, the 2010s and the start of 2020s. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this decade, what fond memories you've got. I'll put videos up here for the rest of the series, the previous ones and the ones as they come along. Hit like, hit subscribe. I've been Chris, you've been watching Coaster Dad. See you in the next one. Adios.